Monday, the 27th of July, and this is a regularly scheduled workshop meeting. First order of business is roll call. Mrs. Green?
I'm here at Town Hall.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Present.
Mr. Manley?
Here.
And Mr. Lobiondo?
Present.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America
and to the republic
of the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Supervisor, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I do have an addition. It's going to be, I guess it will be a new number 13, and it's going to be 13A and B, stormwater securities for Ready Coffee, and landscape securities for Ready Coffee.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other additions to the agenda?
I have none.
Nothing.
Okay,
Nothing.
thank you. Next, we go to the approval of the audit. Item 5.
Okay, I have the audit for a total of $794,958.69. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Supervisor Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 6, Recreation Department. Approval of umpire service agreement.
Okay, what I have here from Jim Pursuti, Parks Commissioner, is a request to sign this agreement for Orange County USSSA Umpires Association. And that's, of course, if we get some softball in this year. And it's basically the same contract we have every year. 2 officials for the 2020 season, $64 a game, $32 per umpire. Just get a request to approve that.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Councilman Ruggiero, did you second that, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 7 for animal control.
We got a request from Cheryl Cunningham for animal control to pay for veterinarian bill to Flannery Animal Hospital. The total is $146.97. This is from a T94 account, which is all donation, not any taxpayer money. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second your motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 8, request for zoning change, 5th Avenue and Route 52.
Okay, what I have here, I should have a few people on here if we can unmute them. I don't pronounce this right. Zaiden from Gasland. And I believe, is it Karen?
That's correct, Karen.
Yeah.
No,
And who else is from your group? Any?
Sure, this is Attorney Nick Ward-Willis with Keenan.
Oh, there you go, Nick. Yes, I did meet you last week. Yeah. Is there anybody else that we should be unmuting, or is that the 3 of you?
Just the 3 of us.
Okay. Yes. Sidon is 1. Yep. Okay, so you want to go ahead and start, Nick?
Thank you. Hey, do we have good sound quality? Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you pretty good.
I can hear you fine, sir.
Somebody else can.
Great. Well, thank you very much. This
Our
is
main
Nick
one
Ward-
is, as long as Michelle can hear you. Go ahead. I'm
Can
sorry.
you guys hear me?
Yes.
Ken,
Ziding, yes.
Good. Very good. So, good evening. This is Nick Ward Willis with Keenan Bean for Gasland. We're appearing before you tonight to request a zone change with respect to property located at 42 South Plank Road, located at the corner of South Plank Road and Fifth Avenue. It's been a gas station for decades, and our client wishes to make some improvements to it. We recognize it's a little tired, and in addition to some landscaping, the building itself could have a new facade on it that would make it consistent with the neighborhood, try to give it more of a residential feel. So we submitted an application to the planning board. We had a good conversation and feedback with them. We thought that even though we're a pre-existing non-conforming use, we're a gas station in a residential zone, we felt that we fit one of the exceptions because we weren't, in our mind, doing an expansion as it's defined in the code. The town staff and planning did not agree. They recommended that we should apply for a use variance. I'm a municipal attorney. I can't imagine you apply the use variance criteria any differently in Newburgh than where I'm in Beacon or in Newcastle or any other municipality. So we recognize that's an uphill battle and not a realistic one. And we don't want to miss this opportunity to improve that property, address some of the concerns regarding parking, the dumpster, some landscaping, the fence, but more importantly, the building. So we don't have any intention of increasing the number of pumps, the canopy. We really just want to refurbish a tired site. And so what we'd like to do is have that property rezoned to the B district. If we can put some of the PDFs I provided to the town up on the screen, if someone can share that with you, you'll
Is that
see
possible?
where our property is in relation to other commercial uses in the area. If you know the property, we're a stone's throw from Route 84. We're at the on Route 52. There's a commercial property, the former dentist office behind us, chiropractor to the side, and of course the other commercial uses when you come off the highway. I don't know if the board members have an opportunity to review the land use map that was shared with you. I don't know if it's able to be put up on the screen. If it can be, I would appreciate it. If not, you can refer to it, and you'll see that it's not, it's consistent in our mind with the use of the site, even though it's zoned residential. In all fairness, I don't see that property ever being purchased and converted into a residential structure. It's going to remain a gas station, has been for a number of decades, and it's, in my mind, consistent to move it into the business zone. It's a good logical extension of that zone. And because we can't get site plan approval without it, we'd like to get that district changed. So what we have also before you was a zoning compliance table that we provided to the town that shows that we meet, for the most part, all of the existing dimensional requirements. There are some where we would be a pre-existing non-conforming use. But for the important ones, the rear and the side yards, for example, distance between the property behind us, we meet that. In fact, it requires 30 feet. We're providing 55. The last document that we provide, and I can go through those setbacks in more detail if you like, but we do think we meet most of them, and for some we don't. It would be a pre-existing non-conforming use, but it's not, in my mind, one of the more material ones, like the side yard setbacks of a lot width of a lot area. It's distance from separated to a parked car is one example. If you look at the last slide, the last PDF that we provided the town, it sort of shows you a concept plan, what we envisioned. And all we're envisioning is adding some parking spaces to meet where, to sort of make the flow of the traffic go through easier, add some landscaping, and on the Fifth Avenue side, add a defined entrance and ingress and egress, because right now it's an open curb along the entire side of Fifth Avenue. We think that can be improved. We're showing some improved landscaping at the back of the site by the dumpster, recognizing that could be improved as well. And the significant improvement is adding 750 square feet of space at the rear of the property. And one of the main reasons for doing this is that it allows us to internalize our restrooms. Right now, the restrooms are accessed from the outside. Poses a problem in my mind for the community, but also for us. We don't have the ability to police it as well as if we had restrooms that could only be accessed by entering the store, where we can control it and monitor the activity, and obviously, as you could imagine, see if people are up to no good or make sure they're in and out of there as appropriate. So the addition allows us to do that. It also gives us some increased storage space with respect to coolers to meet current demands of the market. And if we do that 750 square foot addition, we're still meeting the rear yard setback to our neighbor in the rear, because it's currently 50, and I believe it would be approximately 30 or so. So we think that this is a good solution to meet our needs, and also what I suspect maybe even wants of the town and the community is to refresh that site a little bit. So that in a nutshell, and I can provide you with more details, but that's what we're before your board tonight is. If you have any questions or comments, we'll answer them. But the next step is, if you're favorably inclined, or at least would like to entertain it, and I know you have to go through the public hearing process, we would submit a petition requesting a zone change that our property be rezoned to the B district. I apologize. I didn't hear anything. I'm going to move my phone.
The paperwork that you left with us last week, all the board members have copies of that, and I believe Joe Petty put them on the website.
I did.
Oh, no, Nick's gone.
Oh, good. Thank you. Good.
Oh, no, Nick.
Yeah, I'm back. Somewhat. It looks virtually different.
Oh, there he is. All right. Mark Taylor, you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add? I know we talked about requesting them to give us a petition to the town board.
Yeah, the petition would be accompanied by an environmental assessment form so that the town board could proceed with a seeker review
You hear him?
of the, I'm sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mark.
Okay. And as well as an escrow fee in order to cover the town's costs with respect to the process. If the board is favorably inclined, we could actually go ahead and start preparing the local law upon receipt of the petition and not await your authorization at the next meeting.
Right. And either way, towards the final for the zoning change, we would still have to have a public hearing. So
That's correct.
Right?
The matter will have to be referred to the Orange County Planning Department, the Planning Board, the ZBA, the Town Board. Will have to schedule a public hearing. The board, typically with map changes, notifies every property owner within 500 feet of the affected property of the proposed change and of the hearing. And that requires some time to accomplish. We typically have the assessor prepare that list of property owners. The applicant prepares the envelopes, and then one of the town staff actually mails the notices out.
Okay. It's just easier because we're on a Zoom meeting. I just go through each board member. Betty, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm fine.
Paul?
No, I'm okay with it. It's fine.
Anthony?
No, I think the presentation was very good. The materials that we have in front of us are very self-explanatory, so I'm willing to proceed as well.
All right. Nick, is there anything you want to add, or do you need anybody else to make a comment? It looks like we're pretty good on the next step.
No, thank you. We understand the process, and we'll work with town staff to get that petition in, understand you'll schedule a hearing, and we'll work to provide the underlying materials you need to process our application. And we thank you for your time tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
the other two there.
Yes. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Okay, next we go on to item 9, Justice Court telephone system.
Okay, the Justice Court needs an upgraded phone system. We're slowly been doing a few of the departments and buildings in the town. And I have, through the state bid, came out to $13,886.48. to revamp the whole phone system at the court. And I'm just looking for a motion to accept that.
So move.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, who seconded that, please? Councilman
I
Ruggiero?
did, Joe. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion?
I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Do we have that money in the budget? Was this budgeted for this year for courts? That's the first question. And the second question is, are we going to also add phones into the area that is going to, where water and sewer is now? Are they going to also, is that added into this proposal too?
I do know I was told we do have the money for it.
Okay.
And I don't know for a fact if there's that many phones. I thought the judges were dividing up their own offices, so it would be the same. But that I don't have an answer for.
Okay. Just to keep that in mind, you know, because that office is going to be vacant probably like
Absolutely.
a month and a half. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion or comments? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 10, data processing, service, PC, and consulting.
Okay, I have a new, I guess what we call an agreement, amended a service agreement from Sarvis PC Repair and Consulting. They're the ones that take care of all the computers throughout the whole town, not just town hall. They're increasing their rate from $60 an hour to $65 an hour, which is still cheaper than what we paid 3 years ago, $82.50 an hour. So I'm looking for a motion to renew the service agreement starting August 1st. And we do have the funding in the current budget, 001-1680-0497. Can I get a motion for that?
So move.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I do have one question as to the change in rate is not that terrific, but we have the ample money in the budget item for that.
Yes, we pay X amount of dollars per time. I think it's $3,000 at a time or something. I don't know exactly
Yeah,
what this is for one, right?
just checking.
No problem.
Any other comments?
No, I
Mrs.
have
Green? Mrs.
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 11, award of contract for GPS locator.
Okay, we have GPS locators in most of our vehicles, and we have a 5-month, a 60-month lease, 5-year lease to renew. The company we've been using is Sonova Solutions. We did put this out to bid for 3 different companies. We were paying approximately $1,400 a month from Sonova. Their new bid is down to $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year. The second closest would be $14,000. The next one's $17,000. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the lowest cost, which is a company we've already been using. We're going to have more vehicles with GPS, and they're going to replace all the GPSs in every vehicle to more upgraded ones. So I'm looking for a motion which will save us a lot of money here to go with Sonova.
I'll make that motion, Scott.
May I have a second, please?
Okay, I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I do have one question. How does this contract relate to the contract we have with the current? I noticed in that when in the details it talks about when you turn on the vehicle, it's going to register and keep track of where it goes. But it also talks about keeping track of who the driver is and all. Is that all items that are in the current contract we have?
I know most of that is. I don't, our vehicles are assigned to the people, and that's how we correlate it.
But just, I thought if,
Just
say
like-
somebody's on vacation and a different driver gets
Now, there's,
behind the wheel as to how that is going to keep track.
now, there's no way you can track an actual person driving that vehicle to who it is. It's done by the vehicle and the assignment of the vehicle. No matter any GPS systems, they can't tell who's driving the vehicle, but they can
Okay.
tell the driving, style.
Okay, just was wondering.
Any other comments, please? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 12, Recreation Department, approval to advertise for a chauffeur position.
Got a request from Jim Pursuti, Parks Commissioner, for a chauffeur position advertisement. It says, at this time, I'd like to request an advertisement be placed for the position of senior transportation / dial-a-bus part-time chauffeur. This is to drive the senior transportation or dial-a-bus. So I'm just looking for motion to start to put an advertisement, I should say.
so move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 13 for engineering. Item A, stormwater management, erosion, and sediment control cost estimate for Ready Coffee.
Okay, looking for motion to accept the Ready Coffee stormwater management, erosion, and sediment control cost. This comes out to $34,476. They want to round it off to $34,500 from the stormwater management. Can I get a motion to accept that?
I'll make the motion, Scott.
I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item B for engineering, landscaping cost estimate for Ready Coffee.
Okay, this is the same project, Ready Coffee, for landscape costs for the security. They came out to $19,913.55. Just said we'll round it off to $20,000. And this is Ready Coffee. It's going to be a drive-up coffee place over on North Plank Road in the front parking lot of where Rite Aid used to be. So it's more business coming. And hold on, Mark Taylor, can you hear me?
Here,
Mark? Okay,
Yes.
I also, do I have to add the $2,000 for the landscape inspection fee?
no, you can mention it, but it's not part of the motion.
Okay. So looking for a motion to accept that.
I'll make the
Ma'am.
motion.
Do I have a second, please?
okay, I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Okay, next we go into executive session.
I'll move that we go into executive session.
and I'll second it.
Mark.
Motion made and seconded.
Need a motion.
Motion made and seconded to go into executive session at 7:29
Thank you.
PM.
Second.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent.
Okay, thank you.
I'm unmuted.
We have Betty back?
I'm here.
Okay, Joe, we're all right. All set.
Okay, all right, Scott, you'll need to ask for a motion to get out of executive session.
So
Okay,
moved.
Second.
do I have a second of executive session?
Okay, motion
Seconded
made,
by Paul.
yes. Motion made and seconded to get out of to leave executive session at 8:03 PM. Mrs.
Okay.
Green? Wait a
Yes,
minute, let's vote on it. Mrs. Green?
yes,
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Mr. Deputy Supervisor, was any action taken during the executive session?
No.
Okay. Is there any action now?
Yes.
Please proceed with the action taken.
Okay. Under salary increase, I'm looking for a motion for the Assistant Recreation Director to be increased from 2206 to 2884. And that's retro from March 29th when it went into effect during the COVID thing. Along with our reservoir caretaker, $1.50 an hour for the added duties. And that won't be starting till August 3rd, which is a week from today. And our administrative assistant and personnel, also $1.50 as of August 3rd, a week from today. If I can get a motion for that.
so moved.
And I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Based on my recent appointment, I believe there is insufficient time for me to form an informed decision, so I'm going to abstain from that vote.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Mr. Deputy Supervisor, was there any action taken for
We do have a
regarding sick bank?
Yes, I'm looking for a motion to approve a sick bank for an employee in the police department. If I can get a motion.
so
I'll make the
moved.
motion.
Oh, and then I'll second his motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. All right, the last item, item 14, is adjournment.
We get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
good.
Beat you, Betty.
Motion made
Yes.
and seconded to adjourn at 8:05 PM. Mrs. Green?
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you very
Good night,
much,
everyone.
everybody.
good night. Stay
Yeah.
safe.